Wealth is not first measured in dollars but in thoughts. That is the most unsettling truth I could tell you tonight, because the mind of a rich man and the mind of a poor man are not simply separated by circumstances or education or even opportunity. They are separated by patterns of thought. The rich think in terms of cause and effect, while the poor think in terms of luck and fate. The rich ask what must be built, while the poor ask what might be given. And the most powerful law of all is this: you become what you think about most of the time. If you fill your mind with scarcity, scarcity will dominate your life. If you fill your mind with wealth, your actions will begin to align with wealth, your eyes will begin to notice opportunities others ignore, and your habits will shape a different future. Write this down and keep it close. The first wealth is thought, and without it, no amount of money will ever stay in your hands. Let us confront a cultural lie, one that imprisons millions. The lie is that money creates the rich mind. The reality is the exact opposite. A rich mind creates the money. If a man with poverty thinking receives a fortune, he will lose it. History is filled with lottery winners who end bankrupt, athletes who earn millions and retire broke, inheritors who destroy what took generations to build. Why? Because their minds were never trained to think like wealth does. A rich thinker, on the other hand, can lose everything and rebuild again and again. You cannot strip him of his wealth because his wealth is not in his bank, it is in his brain. If you want proof, consider how many self-made millionaires went bankrupt once, twice, even 3 times before they struck success that lasted. They had learned how to think like the rich, and so the money was bound to return. So I ask you, have you trained your mind to hold wealth? Or do you still chase wealth with the mind of a beggar? Now consider how a farmer thinks. He never expects a harvest without planting seeds. He never expects results overnight. He works the soil, he waters, he waits. He knows that the invisible law of growth is at work. And yet millions live their lives in denial of this law, believing that wealth should appear without thought, without discipline, without the sowing of mental seeds. They consume ideas of poverty, complaints, gossip, fear of failure, and wonder why their lives are barren. But a farmer knows better. He protects his field from weeds. He removes stones. He chooses his crops deliberately. That is exactly what training your mind to think like the rich requires. You must uproot the weeds of scarcity. You must guard against the stones of fear. And you must choose carefully the seeds you plant in your imagination. If you do not, someone else will plant them for you, and the harvest will not be yours. There is another false belief, and it is this, that the rich are selfish. But the rich mind does not obsess about taking, it obsesses about creating. It asks what can be built, what can be solved, what can be improved. A man who thinks like the rich is not consumed by envy, for envy sees only what another has, while wealth thinking sees what can be produced. This shift in perspective is subtle, yet decisive. Poverty thinking says, why don't I have what he has? Wealth thinking says, how can I create something that serves? Poverty thinking waits for permission. Wealth thinking acts with initiative. Poverty thinking says, one day maybe. Wealth thinking says, today I begin. If you find yourself comparing constantly, stop. Comparison is the language of poverty. Creation is the language of wealth. Tonight, ask yourself honestly, am I envious or am I creative? The answer will tell you where your future is headed. Delay is not denial. Repeat it aloud with me. Delay is not denial. Every wealthy mind understands this truth. Because while the poor mind complains at every setback, the wealthy mind interprets setbacks as training. Wealthy thinkers see resistance as proof of progress. When a door closes, they do not sit and mourn it. They search for the next door, or they build one themselves. This is why the rich seem unstoppable. They know that no failure is final unless you accept it as final. They know that rejection is information, not condemnation. And they know that patience is not weakness, but power. If you are in a season of waiting, hear me clearly. Your delay is not denial. It is preparation. If you believe this truth, write it in the comments. I am being prepared. Say it out loud. I am being prepared. Because the declaration you make to yourself will shape the reality you build. So how do you train your mind to think like the rich? Begin with a simple but profound action. Take out a sheet of paper tonight and write this line across the top. I am becoming what I think about. Then beneath it, write the kind of person you want to become. Not the money you want, not the possessions you dream of, but the identity you wish to carry. Do you want to think as a builder, a creator, a disciplined worker, a problem solver? Write it down. And then ask yourself each morning, what thoughts did I plant yesterday? What thoughts will I plant today? Because wealth is not a destination, it is a mental routine. And just as exercise trains the body, deliberate thought trains the mind. Another truth you must engrave into your heart is this: comfort is the enemy of wealth. The poor mind seeks ease, shortcuts, entertainment, and escape. The rich mind seeks challenge, growth, responsibility, and contribution. This is why many people who earn sudden wealth destroy themselves. They mistake comfort for achievement. But comfort corrodes ambition. It drains creativity. It lulls the mind into complacency. If you would train your mind to think like the rich, you must learn to see discomfort not as punishment, but as progress. Write this declaration somewhere you can see it every day. Discomfort is my trainer. Say it with me now. Discomfort is my trainer. The more you repeat it, the more you will begin to associate the struggle you face with the growth it creates. Let me give you a practical assignment. Tonight, write down 3 ways your current challenges are shaping you. Maybe your financial hardship is teaching you discipline. Maybe your lack of resources is teaching you creativity. Maybe your failures are sharpening your focus. Whatever they are, write them down. Because when you can see the value in your struggles, you will stop running from them. And when you stop running from them, you will begin to transform them. This is the secret the rich know. They turn obstacles into assets. They see difficulties not as dead ends, but as doorways. And once you master that shift, nothing can keep you poor. At the end of this first step, I want you to carry a law within you, a law that will become the cornerstone of everything we build in the parts to come. The law is simple but unbreakable. Thoughts are wealth. Actions are the harvest. Say it aloud now. Thoughts are wealth. Actions are the harvest. Write it in your notebook. Write it in the comments. Write it in your heart. Because until you accept this law, you will never truly understand what separates the rich from the poor. You are not simply chasing wealth. You are becoming wealth. And the first place it begins is in your mind. So let us begin this journey together with clarity, conviction, and the declaration that will guide you forward. I am wealth in thought and wealth in action. The mind is like a field, and every day you are planting seeds in it, whether you realize it or not. Some plant weeds of doubt, envy, fear, and complaint, and then wonder why their harvest is barren. Others plant seeds of vision, discipline, creativity, and service, and though their growth may be slow, their harvest becomes abundant. This is why I say to you with certainty that wealth is not a matter of luck. It is not even a matter of hard labor alone. It is a matter of thought directed with intention. The poor man can work 10 hours a day with his hands, but if his mind remains poisoned by weeds, his hands will only build what others own. The rich man begins by planting deliberately in his mind, and his labor flows from the harvest of thought. Do not despise the small seed. Do not overlook the invisible planting. For every fortune begins with a single dominant thought, repeated until it becomes law within the subconscious. There is an enemy you must confront if you wish to think like the rich. That enemy is impatience. Poverty thinking demands results. Now, it insists on immediate gratification. It confuses motion with progress. But wealth thinking understands that timing is as important as effort. A builder may lay brick after brick, but if the foundation is not cured, the wall will crumble. A farmer may rush his harvest, but if the crop is not mature, the fruit will rot. And so it is with your wealth. You must learn to trust the law of gestation, the unseen process by which ideas ripen, by which plans mature, by which the mind prepares to receive abundance. Impatience whispers that you are behind, that you must rush, that you cannot afford to wait. But I tell you the truth, impatience is poverty in disguise. The man who yields to it will always be enslaved by it. Write this declaration on your page and speak it aloud now. I trust the timing of my vision. Let us expose another cultural lie, one that destroys the dreams of millions. The lie is this: only special people succeed. The truth is far more empowering. Success is not reserved for the gifted, the well-connected, or the fortunate. It belongs to anyone who disciplines their mind. The rich are not a separate species. They are ordinary men and women who learn to think differently. They train their thoughts like a soldier trains his body, like an athlete trains his reflexes, like a craftsman trains his hand. If you are willing to discipline your mind, you too can rise. Consider this: the wealthy 1% is not defined by race, gender, or background. It is defined by mental habits. And habits can be learned, trained, and repeated until they are natural. You must never again tell yourself, I am not special. You are as capable as anyone who has ever lived. The difference is not who they are, it is how they think. Now let us turn to the subject of fear. Fear is the most common seed planted in the human mind, and it is the most destructive. Fear keeps men from investing. Fear keeps women from speaking. Fear keeps entire generations enslaved to mediocrity. The rich mind, however, does not deny fear. It confronts it. It interprets fear not as a signal to retreat, but as a signal to prepare. It uses fear as fuel. A man who fears failure may avoid risk altogether, but a wealthy thinker uses that same fear to sharpen his plan, to strengthen his resolve, to demand greater precision. Fear never disappears, but when you train your mind, fear becomes your servant, not your master. Say this aloud with me: fear is my teacher, not my prison. Write it on your notepad now, because until you redefine fear, you will never advance beyond it. I want you to practice a simple exercise. Tonight, when you lie down in bed, before you close your eyes, I want you to visualize the life you wish to create. Not the vague dream, not the blurred fantasy, but the specific picture of who you are becoming. Imagine the office where you work, the people you serve, the way you dress, the way you speak. See it clearly. Then hold that image for at least 5 minutes before you sleep. Why? Because the last thoughts you hold before rest are the seeds planted deepest in the soil of your mind. Do this for 30 nights, and you will discover a strange and powerful shift. Your mornings will carry the imprint of wealth. Your actions will bend toward the vision you rehearsed. This is no magic trick. It is law. The subconscious is your greatest servant, and it cannot distinguish between reality and imagination. Plant the vision, and it will work tirelessly to make it real. But here is a dangerous truth that most never admit. Most people sabotage their wealth because they cannot endure solitude. Wealthy thinking requires silence. It requires stepping away from the noise of the crowd, the endless chatter of gossip, the distraction of trivial entertainment. Poverty thinking thrives in groups, in comparison, in endless conversation about nothing. But wealth thinking is cultivated in solitude, in reflection, in journaling, in deep thought. The man who cannot spend time alone will never master his mind. If you wish to think like the rich, schedule solitude as deliberately as you schedule meals, for solitude is food for the mind. In silence, your deepest ideas surface. In silence, your greatest visions are born. If you believe you can embrace solitude as your strength, write in the comments, "I am stronger in silence." The wealthy also practice one habit relentlessly, and that is gratitude. Gratitude seems too simple, too soft, too easy, but gratitude is wealth thinking in its purest form. Poverty thinking complains about what is missing. Wealth thinking gives thanks for what is present, and in so doing expands it. Gratitude shifts your focus from lack to abundance, from envy to creativity, from despair to possibility. Every morning before you leave your home, write down 3 things you are thankful for. It may be your health, your family, your skills, or even your struggles. By doing this, you are training your mind to notice wealth in all its forms, and that awareness itself creates more. Say this declaration now: I see wealth everywhere. Repeat it until it becomes your lens. Because the eyes of gratitude will always discover what the eyes of complaint cannot see. Another action I want you to take is this. Begin keeping what I call a wealth journal. Each day, write down one lesson you learn about money, about opportunity, or about human behavior. Over time, this journal will become your greatest treasure. It will record the evolution of your thinking. It will expose your old patterns and reveal your new ones. The poor consume information passively and forget it. The rich capture information deliberately and apply it. The difference may seem small, but the results are immense. Imagine if for 1 year you recorded a single lesson each day. At the end of that year, you would hold in your hand a book of 365 principles that reflect your own journey. That is wealth. That is thinking like the rich, and no one could ever take it from you. I will leave you with a law to engrave upon your heart. The law is this: what you hold in your mind, you hold in your hand. Say it out loud now. What you hold in your mind, you hold in your hand. Write it on your paper, write it in the comments, write it in your soul. Because everything you wish to possess begins in thought. You must think it before you can build it. You must build it before you can hold it. And if you discipline your thoughts to think like the rich, it is only a matter of time before the harvest arrives. Declare with me now: I think as the rich think. I live as the rich live. I am rich in mind and in action. Most people do not fail because they lack ability. They fail because they have never learned how to think about money the way the rich do. They see money as an end in itself, a finish line, a prize. But the rich see money as a tool, as a servant, as a symbol of the value they create. This is the first great divide in thinking. If you chase money as a prize, you will always be in pursuit, always one step behind, always desperate. But if you view money as a tool, you will begin to see that the real pursuit is mastery of self, mastery of service, mastery of thought. And when you master these, money follows like a shadow follows the body. Do not worship the shadow. Learn to walk with strength and direction, and the shadow will never leave you. The poor man asks, "How much will I earn?" The rich man asks, How much value can I give? That is the difference between consumption thinking and creation thinking. Poverty asks what it can take. Wealth asks what it can build. And because of this, the poor are enslaved to wages while the rich are liberated by contribution. If you want to train your mind to think like the rich, shift your questions. Stop asking, how much will I get? Start asking, what can I create that others will gladly pay for? One is the language of desperation, the other is the language of dominion. Tonight, write down 3 ways you can add value to the life of another person this week. It may not make you rich overnight, but it will plant in your mind the habit of wealth, and habit is destiny. But here lies the inner enemy you must confront: self-doubt. Self-doubt tells you that your ideas are too small, your efforts are too late, your voice is unworthy. It whispers that others are better, faster, smarter, more deserving. And because of this whisper, millions silence their creativity before it is ever spoken. But hear me, every fortune began with an idea that seemed too small. Every empire began with a seed of doubt that had to be overcome. Wealthy thinking does not deny doubt, but it answers it with action. The antidote to self-doubt is simple: move forward anyway. The mind of the rich is not void of fear or insecurity, it is disciplined to act in spite of them. Repeat this with me now: I move forward despite doubt. Write it down and keep it close. For the moment you obey this declaration, you will already be ahead of 90% of people who let doubt freeze them. Think of the ship at sea. A vessel with a rudder will reach its port, though storms toss it and winds oppose it. But a ship without a rudder will drift endlessly, vulnerable to every tide, every wave, every current. That is the difference between a life guided by goals and a life left to chance. The rich think in goals, the poor think in wishes. The rich decide a destination, the poor drift hoping to arrive somewhere good. Which one are you? Tonight, write down your definite goal for the next 5 years. Be precise, see it clearly. Wealthy thinking is guided thinking, and guided thinking requires clarity. Do not wait for luck to carry you. Choose your port, set your rudder, and the winds of life will serve you instead of destroy you. There is another cultural lie to dismantle. You have been told that working harder automatically makes you richer. That is false. If effort alone produced wealth, every laborer would be wealthy, every man and woman who sweats would be free, every back bent under toil would stand tall with abundance. But they do not. Why? Because wealth does not come from effort alone, it comes from directed effort, leveraged through the mind. The man who digs with his hands may produce a hole. The man who thinks with his mind may produce a machine that digs 10,000 holes. The poor glorify toil, the rich glorify leverage. You must begin to ask not only, how can I work harder, but how can I think smarter? That question is the beginning of wealth thinking. Let me give you a practice that will separate you immediately from the masses. Each morning, take 10 minutes to write down solutions to problems. They can be your problems, your community's problems, or problems of the world. Do not censor yourself. Do not judge your ideas. Simply write, because in this exercise, you are training your mind to think like wealth does, as a solver, as a creator, as an innovator. After 30 days, you will have 300 ideas. Some will be useless, some will be impractical. But even if 1 in 100 is powerful, it may change the course of your life. Wealth is not found by waiting, it is discovered by seeking, and the act of seeking itself reshapes your mind into a wealth engine. Another truth the rich understand is that environment shapes destiny. If you spend your time among complainers, you will inherit their complaints. If you surround yourself with dreamers who never act, you will inherit their excuses. But if you place yourself among builders, strivers, creators, you will be forced to rise. The poor mind believes environment does not matter. The rich mind guards environment as sacred. Choose carefully who you let into your circle. The people around you are either anchors or sails. They either drag you down or they lift you forward. If you believe you are ready to choose sails over anchors, write in the comments, I surround myself with strength. And remember this law, you will always become like the company you keep. But here's the deeper danger. Some believe that training the mind is unnecessary, that success is purely external. They believe it belongs to circumstance, to opportunity, to the market. But this is blindness. For 2 men can face the same market, the same opportunity, the same environment, and one will build a fortune while the other collapses. Why? Because of thought, because of mindset, because one trained his inner world while the other neglected it. Never forget this law. Outer wealth mirrors inner wealth. Say it with me now. Outer wealth mirrors inner wealth. Write it down, repeat it, engrave it upon your mind, because the moment you believe it, you will stop blaming what is outside and begin mastering what is within. At the close of this part, I want you to repeat one declaration that will guide your next steps. Speak it aloud, write it down, make it yours. I am a creator of value. I am a solver of problems. I am a builder of wealth. This is not merely affirmation, it is training. It is planting. It is programming your mind to operate as wealth does. And the more you repeat it, the more your actions will align. Remember, thought is the seed, action is the harvest. Plant wisely, act boldly, and wealth will be the inevitable result. The greatest tragedy of the human mind is not that it cannot think, but that it refuses to think deeply. Most people surrender their most powerful tool to the noise of the world. They let television, gossip, social media, and advertising do their thinking for them. And so they wonder why their lives reflect chaos, distraction, and poverty. The rich refuse this surrender. They guard their thoughts like treasure. They know that what enters the mind shapes what exits the life. A man who allows poison into his mind will see poison in his results. A man who feeds his mind with strength, clarity, and vision will see those qualities reflected in his destiny. Ask yourself right now, what are you feeding your mind each day? Because what you consume will either make you wealthy or keep you enslaved. The first step to riches is not earning more, it is thinking better. You must also confront the subtle trap of comparison. Comparison is the silent thief that robs men of peace and focus. It tells you that you are late, that you are behind, that you will never measure up to the highlight reels of others. But comparison is a lie. It distracts you from your own race, your own pace, your own calling. The rich do not waste their mind on envy. They do not measure their worth against the temporary flash of another. They measure only by contribution and growth. If you would think like the rich, abandon comparison today. Replace it with evaluation. Ask yourself not, am I ahead of him? But am I ahead of who I was yesterday? That is the only standard that matters. Write this declaration on your page and in your comments. I compete only with myself. For until you silence comparison, you cannot hear the voice of your own destiny. Consider the law of focus. The poor scatter their energy across 1,000 distractions, 1,000 impulses, 1,000 shallow efforts. The rich concentrate. They do not try to master 10 things at once. They master one, then another, then another. Focus is the magnifying glass that turns sunlight into fire. Without it, energy is wasted. With it, energy becomes unstoppable. If you want to train your mind to think like the rich, choose your focus deliberately. What one skill will you master this year? What one goal will you protect until it is achieved? Write it down. Guard it. Refuse to be pulled in every direction. Because the law of focus guarantees that what you magnify multiplies. Repeat it aloud with me. What I focus on multiplies. Say it until it burns into your subconscious. For this law is one of the foundations of all wealth. But here is a truth that may surprise you. The rich do not avoid failure. They pursue it. Not recklessly, not foolishly, but as a necessary price of growth. The poor mind fears failure as if it were final. The rich mind welcomes failure as feedback, as training, as correction. Failure is the tuition of success. Without it, no one learns the lessons that wealth requires. The man who refuses to risk failure also refuses to risk success. The woman who hides from rejection also hides from opportunity. To think like the rich is to redefine failure. It is no longer shame, it is signal. It is no longer defeat, it is direction. Write this truth in bold letters. Failure is training. Say it aloud now. Failure is training. The moment you accept this, you will no longer shrink at mistakes. You will seek them, learn from them, and transform them into stepping stones. Let us turn now to the principle of discipline. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is alignment. It is the daily decision to keep your actions consistent with your vision. Without discipline, the richest mind is wasted. With discipline, even the poorest mind can transform itself into wealth. The rich do not wait for motivation. They live by routine. They know that success is not found in a single burst of effort, but in the steady rhythm of daily choices. The poor chase excitement, novelty, and mood. The rich build systems, habits, and structure. If you would train your mind to think like the rich, begin by mastering your morning. Rise early, review your goals, write your affirmations, feed your mind before the world feeds it for you. Discipline your mornings, and your days will follow. Discipline your days, and your years will follow. Discipline your years, and your destiny will follow. There is also the law of association. Wealth is rarely built in isolation. Though solitude is necessary for thought, association is necessary for growth. The people you spend time with will shape your ceiling. Spend time with the fearful, and you will inherit their fear. Spend time with the ambitious, and you will inherit their drive. The poor often surround themselves with comforters, people who justify their mediocrity. The rich surround themselves with challengers, people who demand their excellence. Look carefully at your circle. Are they builders or destroyers? Are they dreamers or doubters? Write this declaration now. I surround myself with builders, because once you change your associations, your thoughts will rise, and when your thoughts rise, your future follows. The rich also understand the law of identity. They act now as the person they wish to become. They do not wait until they are wealthy to carry themselves with dignity. They carry themselves with dignity, and wealth follows. They do not wait until they are successful to act with discipline. They act with discipline, and success follows. The poor wait for proof. The rich act as proof. This is why so many remain stuck. They wait until they feel ready, until they have enough, until circumstances are perfect. But the moment you begin to embody the identity of wealth, your life begins to shift. Ask yourself today, how would the wealthy version of me think, speak, act, and walk? Then begin doing those things now. If you believe this truth, write in the comments, I am already becoming. And each time you declare it, your mind moves closer to alignment. Now let me offer you a simple but profound exercise. Each evening, write down the 3 dominant thoughts you carried that day. Were they thoughts of fear or thoughts of faith? Were they thoughts of envy or thoughts of creativity? Were they thoughts of waiting or thoughts of building? This exercise will show you the true condition of your mental field, and once you see it, you can begin to change it. The poor never evaluate their thoughts, they let them run wild. The rich monitor and direct their thoughts with precision. This daily audit will train your mind to become disciplined, focused, and wealth-oriented. It will show you clearly whether you are thinking like the rich or thinking like the poor. At the end of this part, engrave this law upon your soul: my thoughts build my future, and my discipline protects it. Say it aloud now. My thoughts build my future, and my discipline protects it. Write it down. Repeat it. Let it sink into the deepest part of your being, because this is the key to wealth thinking. It is not a trick. It is not a secret. It is law, and if you accept it, live it, and repeat it, you will discover that riches were never far away. They were waiting inside your mind all along. There is a dangerous myth that keeps countless people enslaved to mediocrity. The myth is that money alone is wealth. But wealth is not the stack of bills in your account, nor the car in your garage, nor the house on your street. True wealth is the ability to create, the freedom to choose, and the discipline to sustain. A man with $10 million and no control of his mind is still poor, for he is owned by fear, by greed, by circumstance. A man with nothing but the ability to think, to discipline, to create, he is already rich in seed, and it is only a matter of time before the harvest arrives. This is why the first training is not financial, it is mental. Because when the mind is rich, money must follow. And when the mind is poor, money will flee. Now consider the law of service. Every fortune in history has been built upon this single truth. Wealth flows to the one who serves more, serves better, and serves longer. The poor see service as weakness. The rich see service as leverage. The poor ask, why should I give more when I am not paid more? The rich ask, how can I give more so that I will be worth more? This is the iron law of wealth, and it cannot be broken. If you want to think like the rich, stop measuring your effort by the size of your paycheck. Begin measuring it by the size of your contribution, because the market is a mirror. It always reflects back to you the value you bring. Say this law with me: my income is my service. Write it down, repeat it, because when you live by it, you will never again be confused about why some prosper and some do not. But here lies a subtle enemy that ruins many: entitlement. Entitlement whispers that the world owes you, that society must reward you, that your birth, your education, or your effort entitles you to success. But the rich mind rejects entitlement. It knows that the world pays not for effort alone, but for results, for value, for solutions. The poor cry for fairness. The rich build systems of value. The poor cling to excuses. The rich cling to responsibility. If you feel the whisper of entitlement in your own mind, cut it off quickly, for it will destroy you quietly. Replace it with ownership. Ownership says, if I am to rise, it is up to me. Write this in your journal tonight. IOWE, the world's results, not excuses. Say it until it becomes your creed, because ownership is the foundation upon which all wealth is built. There is also the law of imagination. Every great fortune begins not in the bank, but in the mind. Imagination is not idle fantasy, it is rehearsal for reality. The poor waste imagination on fear, rehearsing disaster, picturing loss, dwelling on failure. The rich harness imagination for creation, rehearsing success, picturing abundance, dwelling on solutions. This is why two men can face the same opportunity, and one sees only risk while the other sees potential. One sees a problem to fear, the other sees a problem to solve. Wealthy thinking requires the training of imagination. I want you to do this exercise each morning. Picture yourself as the person you wish to become. See your posture, your work, your habits, your results. The clearer the picture, the stronger the pull. Say it now, I see the future I am building. For when you see it daily, your life will begin to align with it. Now let me give you a warning. The greatest enemy of wealth thinking is distraction. Distraction steals focus, energy, and years of life. It makes men experts at trivia and amateurs at destiny. It convinces women to pour their strength into noise while neglecting their calling. Poverty thrives on distraction. Wealth thrives on direction. If you would think like the rich, you must learn to master your attention. Ask yourself every hour, is what I am doing right now building my vision, or is it draining it? This single question can transform your destiny. Write it down and place it where you can see it often. Does this build my vision? If the answer is no, redirect. Protect your attention as you would protect your gold, for attention is the currency of wealth, and once spent, it cannot be regained. Another principle the rich understand is that money is never the goal, it is the byproduct. The poor chase money, and money runs away. The rich chase mastery, and money chases them. This is why wealthy people often seem indifferent to cash itself. They know it comes and goes. What they pursue relentlessly is skill, discipline, contribution, mastery, because these cannot be taken from them. A fortune can collapse, but a man of mastery will rebuild. A market can crash, but a woman of skill will adapt. If you want to think like the rich, train yourself to hunger for mastery above money. For mastery produces wealth again and again. Write this declaration on your page. I chase mastery, not money. Say it until it becomes the compass of your decisions. The rich also know the law of long horizons. Poverty thinking is obsessed with today, with this week, with this paycheck. Wealth thinking is obsessed with years, decades, generations. The poor trade the future for the present. The rich trade the present for the future. That is why the rich invest, sacrifice, delay, while the poor consume, indulge, waste. If you want to think like the rich, lengthen your horizon. Ask not only what will this give me today, but what will this build in 10 years? Every great fortune is the result of compounded thinking over time. Begin practicing this by writing tonight 3 decisions you can make now that will serve you in 5 years. Plant them as seeds. For the man who thinks long will never be poor, and the one who thinks short will never be free. But here is a hidden truth. The rich train their minds to expect abundance, while the poor train their minds to expect scarcity. Expectation is a magnet. It pulls toward you the life you secretly believe you deserve. If you expect loss, you will find ways to lose. If you expect failure, you will find ways to fail. But if you expect growth, if you expect provision, if you expect opportunity, your mind will guide your steps to discover it. Say this law aloud. I expect abundance. Write it, believe it, declare it. For expectation shapes perception, and perception shapes reality. This is not wishful thinking, it is the law of attention. You will always move toward what you most expect. At the close of this part, let me give you a declaration that must never leave your lips. Say it now with conviction. I create value, I embrace discipline, I expect abundance. Write it on your page, comment it below. Repeat it daily, because this is the rhythm of the rich mind. And if you train yourself to live in this rhythm, your actions will rise, your wealth will grow, and your destiny will change forever. Wealth is not built in the moments when everyone is watching. Wealth is built in the quiet, hidden hours when no one sees you, when no one applauds you, when no one even believes in you. The rich know this truth. They train their minds in secret long before they reveal their results in public. Poverty thinking seeks constant recognition, constant validation, constant proof. But the wealthy thinker does not need applause to keep going. He knows that the roots grow underground before the fruit appears above ground. If you are still in your unseen season, do not despair, do not quit. Do not assume that silence means failure. It means preparation. Speak this declaration aloud. My roots are growing strong, because when the storm comes, it is the unseen roots that keep the tree standing. There is a law of persistence that must be engraved in your mind. Most people quit too soon. They stop at the first setback, the first rejection, the first obstacle. But persistence is the difference between the rich and the poor, between the remembered and the forgotten. The rich mind interprets every no as one step closer to yes. It sees every closed door as guidance toward another opening. Persistence transforms obstacles into instruction, rejection into redirection, and delay into development. Write this in your journal tonight. I persist until I prevail. Say it aloud until it becomes your nature. Because persistence is wealth's secret weapon. It is invisible to the impatient, but irresistible to the disciplined. Another truth you must learn is the law of simplicity. The poor complicate everything. They bury themselves in excuses, in confusion, in endless distractions. They believe wealth is hidden behind secrets too complex to understand. But the rich think in simplicity. They break problems down. They focus on first principles. They understand that success is never built on complexity, but on clarity. Consider this. Every great fortune can be explained in one sentence. One man provided food faster. Another built systems of trust. Another solved the problem of distance. It is not complexity that makes wealth. It is the relentless mastery of a simple idea. I want you to practice this. Take one goal you have and reduce it to a single sentence. If you cannot explain it simply, you do not yet understand it. And until you understand it, you cannot build it. But here is a false belief you must destroy, that the rich are simply lucky. Luck is the word the poor use to describe the discipline they never saw. Luck is the label given to years of persistence, sacrifice, and preparation finally meeting opportunity. When the poor see a man succeed, they mutter, "He is lucky." But the truth is far different. That man planted seeds long before they sprouted. That woman disciplined herself long before the reward appeared. If you want to think like the rich, stop relying on luck and start relying on law. Wealth is not a gamble. It is a cause and effect process. If you plant the right thoughts, you act in the right ways. If you act in the right ways, you attract the right results. Say this aloud with me. I do not need luck. I live by law. Write it and keep it, for it will free you from the illusion that success is outside your control. Another key principle is the law of resilience. The poor crumble under setbacks, interpreting them as final. The rich absorb setbacks as lessons, adjusting their course while staying true to their vision. Resilience is not avoidance of hardship, it is the refusal to be broken by it. Imagine a rubber ball striking the ground. The harder it hits, the higher it bounces. That is the rich mind. The poor mind hits the ground and stays there. Which will you be? Each time you fall, say this to yourself, I rise stronger than before. Declare it in your comments, I rise stronger. For resilience transforms every fall into the momentum of your next ascent. The rich also practice the law of preparation. They do not wait until opportunity knocks to get ready. They live ready. They prepare in advance. They build skills before they are required. They save before they are needed. They study before the exam. They train before the battle. Poverty thinking waits for the moment, then scrambles in panic. Wealth thinking anticipates the moment, then moves with calm authority. If you want to think like the rich, ask yourself daily, what am I preparing for right now? Write down 3 areas of your life where preparation is required. Then take one small step today, because when opportunity comes, it is too late to prepare. Write this declaration now. I am always ready. Say it until it becomes a natural state of your mind. Another truth of the rich mind is this. They do not avoid responsibility, they claim it. Poverty thinking avoids blame, points fingers, and hides behind excuses. Wealthy thinking accepts responsibility for every outcome, even when circumstances seem unfair. The rich mind asks, what can I control? What can I change? What can I improve? This shift is powerful. It transforms victims into victors. It transforms complainers into creators. If you want to rise, stop waiting for someone else to fix your life. Take responsibility for it. Say it now. I am responsible for my destiny. Write it down and repeat it until it hardens into truth. Because once you take responsibility, nothing and no one can stop you. Finally, remember this law. Wealth is not built in bursts, but in consistency. The poor act only when inspired, only when motivated, only when convenient. The rich act consistently, regardless of mood, regardless of circumstances, regardless of applause. Consistency compounds. $1 saved daily becomes a fortune. One skill practiced daily becomes mastery. One idea written daily becomes a library. If you want to think like the rich, stop chasing intensity and start chasing consistency. Write this on your paper now. Consistency compounds. Say it with me. Consistency compounds. For this is how small actions transform into great destinies. At the close of this part, carry this law with you. My wealth is built in silence, strengthened in persistence, multiplied by consistency. Say it aloud. Write it. Believe it. Because this law, lived daily, will make you unstoppable. You will no longer envy the rich. You will think as they think, act as they act, and eventually live as they live. Wealth is not an accident. It is an alignment. It is the alignment of thought, action, and identity. The poor believe wealth is something you stumble upon, a treasure buried in the ground, a chance meeting that changes everything. But the rich know that wealth is built when your thoughts are disciplined, your actions are consistent, and your identity is elevated. When these three forces move together, fortune becomes inevitable. Think of a train, the engine, the tracks, and the destination. The engine is thought. The tracks are action. The destination is identity. Remove one, and the journey fails. But when all are aligned, the train cannot be stopped. Say this now with conviction. My thoughts, actions, and identity are aligned. Write it down, for this is the essence of wealth creation. There is a lie that keeps many enslaved to poverty thinking. The lie is that sacrifice is loss, but the truth is that sacrifice is investment. The poor see what they are giving up. The rich see what they are trading up. The poor see the pain of today. The rich see the promise of tomorrow. Every fortune has been built on sacrifice of time, of comfort, of immediate pleasure. If you want to think like the rich, reframe sacrifice. Do not call it loss, call it leverage. Do not say, I am giving this up. Say, I am trading this for something greater. Tonight, write down 3 sacrifices you must make to rise higher. Then write this declaration beside them. My sacrifice is my investment. Because once you accept this law, sacrifice will no longer feel heavy. It will feel holy. Now, let us examine the law of attitude. Your attitude is the lens through which you interpret life. The poor allow their environment to shape their attitude. They rise when circumstances rise. They fall when circumstances fall. But the rich allow their attitude to shape their environment. They remain steady when others panic. They remain confident when others doubt. They remain creative when others complain. Attitude is the thermostat of your destiny. It sets the temperature of your results. If you want to think like the rich, stop being a thermometer. Stop reflecting the environment. Start being a thermostat. Start setting the environment. Say it aloud with me. I set the temperature of my life. Write it in your notebook. Write it in your comments. Because when you master your attitude, you master your outcomes. Another truth that the rich live by is the law of contribution. Wealth is not hoarded, it is circulated. The poor cling tightly to every dollar, afraid of loss, suspicious of generosity. But the rich give, and in giving they grow. They know that money is like blood, it must circulate to stay alive. They give to causes, to people, to opportunities, not recklessly but deliberately. Contribution keeps the heart open, the mind abundant, and the soul free. If you want to think like the rich, practice generosity, even in small ways. Give not because you have much, but because you believe in much. Say this now. I give freely and receive freely. Write it down. Believe it. For contribution creates circulation, and circulation creates growth. But here is a hidden danger. Many will tell you that your destiny is fixed, that you are bound by where you were born, by what family you came from, by what cards you were dealt. Poverty thinking loves this lie because it removes responsibility. But the rich know better. They know that destiny is not fixed, it is forged. It is forged by decisions, by discipline, by direction. If you were born in chains, you can break them. If you were born in scarcity, you can rise from it. If you were born in obscurity, you can choose to step into light. Wealthy thinking refuses to accept limits imposed by others. It sets new standards, new goals, new horizons. If you believe this truth, declare it aloud. I forge my own destiny. Write it. Say it until the chains of your past no longer bind you. There is also the law of direction. A man without direction is like a ship without a rudder. He will drift endlessly, tossed by every current, every storm. The poor drift, the rich direct. They chart their course, they set their compass, and they move with intention. You cannot think like the rich while drifting aimlessly. You must decide where you are going. Write down your definite goal. Be precise. Be bold. Then align your thoughts and actions with that goal daily. Wealth is not random, it is directed. Say this aloud. I am a ship with a rudder. My course is clear. My port is certain. Repeat it until you feel the strength of direction flowing into your mind. Another truth is the law of ideas. Ideas are the currency of the rich. They do not trade hours for dollars, they trade ideas for wealth. One idea can change everything. One idea can build an empire. One idea can lift generations. But ideas only come to the mind that is prepared, disciplined, and searching. Poverty thinking waits for entertainment. Wealth thinking waits for inspiration. Which will you be? Begin by capturing your ideas daily. Carry a notebook or use your phone, but never let an idea escape. The poorest man is he who ignores his own thoughts. The richest man is he who collects them, shapes them, and acts on them. Write this law on your page: ideas are my currency. Repeat it until you begin to see every problem as an opportunity for creation. But none of this matters without integrity. The poor believe integrity is optional, that shortcuts and deception can create lasting success. But the rich know that wealth without integrity is a prison. It may fill the pocket, but it empties the soul. It may bring speed, but it cannot bring peace. Lasting wealth is always aligned with integrity. You cannot think like the rich if your thoughts are crooked, your words are false, or your actions are deceitful. For the mind that betrays its own integrity will eventually betray its own wealth. Say this declaration now: my integrity is my foundation. Write it in bold. Write it daily. Because when you build wealth on integrity, you build something that time cannot destroy. At the end of this part, I leave you with a law that ties it all together. The law is this: wealth is forged in sacrifice, guided by attitude, multiplied by contribution, and secured by integrity. Say it aloud with me now. Wealth is forged in sacrifice, guided by attitude, multiplied by contribution, and secured by integrity. Write it in your journal. Comment it below. Repeat it until it becomes who you are. Because once you live this law, you will not only think like the rich, you will live like the rich in mind, in spirit, and in destiny. The final truth you must understand is this: wealth is not about arrival. It is about becoming. Most people think riches are a finish line, a point where you stop striving, stop building, stop growing. But the rich know there is no finish line. They know wealth is a continuous journey of expansion, a constant stretching of mind and spirit. The poor crave comfort at the end of the race. The rich crave growth beyond the race. This is why fortunes compound. This is why the wealthy never truly retire from creating. They do not live to escape labor. They live to express purpose. Say this with me now: I am always becoming. Write it down. Engrave it. Because when you live by this truth, you will never fear the future. The future will always be your ally. There is a dangerous false belief that once you have money, you will automatically have peace. But peace is not purchased. Peace is practiced. The poor think peace is the absence of problems. The rich know peace is the mastery of problems. They train their minds to be calm in chaos, disciplined in disorder, steady in storms. This is why the rich grow richer even in crisis. Their minds are trained to see clearly when others panic. If you want to think like the rich, practice peace in the small things. When the world distracts you, hold your focus. When small frustrations arise, master your response. For if you cannot command your mind in the small battles, you cannot command it in the great ones. Declare this law aloud: my peace is my power. Write it and keep it, for peace is the fortress that guards all wealth. Now consider the law of legacy. The poor think in terms of survival. The rich think in terms of succession. Poverty asks, how will I live? Wealth asks, how will others live because of me? This is why the rich build institutions, companies, systems that last beyond their own lifetimes. They do not merely gather money, they gather momentum that continues after they are gone. If you would train your mind to think like the rich, ask not only what am I building for me, but what am I building for those who come after me? Tonight, write down one way your work can outlive you. It may be your children, your students, your community, your creations. This is the mark of true wealth. It does not end with you. Say this with me: I build a legacy that lasts. Because wealth without legacy is noise, but wealth with legacy is music. Another truth the rich live by is the law of self-concept. You can never out-earn the image you hold of yourself. If you see yourself as small, unworthy, undeserving, the universe will confirm it. But if you see yourself as capable, worthy, destined for greatness, the universe will confirm that too. The poor let society define their image. The rich define it themselves. This is why affirmations are powerful. They are not childish tricks. They are mental programming. They are the way you instruct your subconscious about who you are becoming. Repeat this declaration now: I am worthy of wealth. I am capable of greatness. Write it until your hand aches. Say it until your voice believes it, because your self-concept is the thermostat of your destiny. Raise it, and your results will rise. Let us speak of time, for the poor squander it, and the rich guard it. Time is the only resource that cannot be renewed, borrowed, or bought back. Every wasted hour is a slice of wealth thrown away. Poverty thinking treats time casually. Wealth thinking treats time as sacred. The rich schedule their priorities. The poor prioritize their distractions. Which will you do? Begin tomorrow by blocking the first hour of your day for wealth thinking, reading, journaling, planning, affirming. Do not surrender your first hour to the world. Give it to yourself. That single habit can transform your destiny. Write this law down now. My time is my treasure. Speak it until it directs your every choice. Because he who guards his time guards his future. But here is the secret most never learn. Wealth is not about money at all. It is about freedom. Freedom to think independently. Freedom to live intentionally. Freedom to serve meaningfully. Poverty thinking enslaves the mind to fear, comparison, and conformity. Wealth thinking liberates the mind to courage, clarity, and contribution. When you train your mind to think like the rich, you are not simply seeking more dollars, you are seeking more life. You are seeking freedom from the chains that bind most men, and that freedom is worth more than any fortune. Say it aloud now. I choose freedom over fear. Write it until you believe it, for when you live in freedom, you have already won. The final law I will give you is the law of being. Do not chase wealth as if it were outside you. Become wealth as if it were already within you. Speak, walk, act, and think as the wealthy version of yourself would. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for proof. Do not wait for applause. The rich do not become rich by chance. They become rich by being. And you can begin this very moment. Say this law aloud. I am wealth in thought, in word, in action. Write it boldly. Declare it daily. Live it hourly. Because when you embody wealth, wealth must eventually embody you. At the close of this final part, I leave you with one last declaration. One that ties everything together. Repeat it aloud. Write it in your comments and carry it into your life. I think like the rich. I act like the rich. I live like the rich. This is not a wish. This is not a dream. This is a decision. And once you decide, once you train your mind with discipline, persistence, and truth, wealth cannot be kept from you. It will flow to you, it will grow within you, and it will outlive you. This is the destiny of those who dare to think differently. This is the destiny of those who train their minds to think like the rich.